All right, everybody, welcome back to the Adventure RX podcast. My name is Nick Anderson. I'm your host, owner of Pinpoint Physical Therapy, located in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm excited to have my friend Eric Bartl on today. He's a fellow Ohioan out in Cincinnati, owner of Ohio Kayaking Instruction. He's really been pumping the content the last year or so on Facebook and on YouTube. Really good resources. I want to definitely get into the business side of things with you and talk all things kayaking. So Eric, thank you so much for your time today. What do you got going on today?
Thanks. Happy to be here. Happy to talk about all things kayaking. As we were talking right before we got on, I started all this and I'm doing it because I really do care about water quality, and getting more people on the river is going to get more people caring about water quality.
And tell us more about Ohio Kayaking Instruction, what you're all about, how long you've been doing it. Give us your elevator speech here. Maybe why someone should seek out your instruction or ideal clientele for you.
Yeah. So we started Ohio Kayaking Instruction primarily to get more people on the river. I focus mostly with whitewater kayakers, so teaching people that want to learn how to roll and progress, not just to running like very mellow class 1 rivers, but stepping up to harder rivers and pushing yourself and pushing past the fear barriers that a lot of people have. So that's kind of why I started it, because I think there was a real need for it, and I wanted a way to serve the paddling community and give, like, I grew up in the paddling industry and so much has been given to me and I've been so fortunate, and I wanted a way to give back to people. So that's why we started it.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think there is a need for it. That whitewater kayaking is such a niche sport. And, if you compare it to, I'm a big skier, if you compare it to skiing and snowboarding, it's a fraction of the people that ski do whitewater. I mean, it's such a small sport. And with that, there's less opportunity to find good instruction, right? Yeah. There's just less people that are doing it.
What I've noticed too is that there's lots of kayakers putting out content of like going off huge waterfalls and running class 5 rapids. Sure. But there's not as many people putting out like short form content of like how to do the basic stuff. Like, This is a forward stroke. Here's how you do a C2C roll. Here's how you do a sweep stroke or a rudder. Just like basic stuff. But that's relatable to people. That's what people need to know how to do. Before you go and learn how to run waterfalls, you got to learn the basics first.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we see like the highlight reels right on Instagram of the guys going over to overseas and in South America and everything. But again, that's not as relatable to myself. I'm a class 3 paddler. It's like I'll probably never do that stuff.
Yeah. Well, never say never, because like lots of people say that and then they're like, oh no, that I can absolutely, like, once I actually think kayaking physically is like 20%. It's mostly in the mind, and can you get over the fear that you have of a certain rapid? That's what I've really noticed, and so I want to help people get into the sport from the like beginning phases. Not just it's cool watching the waterfalls and all that stuff, but I wanted to make content and help people that are just starting out and beginning in their journey, because that's what people need.
Yeah, I think it's, as far as extreme sports or freestyle sports, I think it's relatively low impact, right? If we compare it to mountain biking, compare it to climbing, skiing, snowboarding, what have you. That's why I chose it, because it's a lower impact sport generally on the body, unless you're running big waterfalls. But like we got into before, there's a lot of tension on the core and on the shoulders for sure in the sport. I don't know if I know any paddlers that have had uninjured shoulders at this point.
Yeah, no, it is a common injury. And I know I don't want to break into too many, I don't want to get ahead, because I saw some of the questions that you wanted to ask today, but I did want to talk about like the injuries. Mm-hmm. Most of the time when I'm teaching people, it is like a lack of flexibility or physical fitness to do. And I put a post out and I got a lot of heat for it, for saying like, I teach a certain role when someone's physically fit.
I saw that post and I liked it a lot, actually. Yeah. I don't know if I commented on it.
I thought I might get canceled for it, if I'm being honest.
I agreed with you.
But it is, a lot of people commented, they're right. It doesn't necessarily come down to how physically fit you are, but how flexible you are too.
Yeah.
if you have the flexibility, and I think that's what a lot of people are lacking, if
Hmm.
you have the flexibility, you can get away with a lot. And I teach people all the way down from 12 years of age all the way up to 72 years of age. So
Nice.
I have a wide range of people
Yep.
I teach. So not everything fits the particular student, and I have to adjust based on that. So I don't just like a lot of instructors, they have their same speech they give, and they say the same things over and over and over. Well, everybody's different and everybody learns differently. So
Right.
I can't teach a 12-year-old the way I would teach a, 55-year-old that. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't teach a physically fit person, a 20-year-old who's really physically fit, the same way I'm going to teach a, 70-year-old who has flexibility issues.
Sure. How would you adapt your instruction with someone that, let's say they're 20, maybe they're, previous soccer player or, an endurance
Yeah.
athlete. They want to get into the sport. Maybe they're in college versus, the 60-year-old 9 to 5er that's approaching retirement, mostly desk work for the last 30 years. How would you, let's say the goal is to like, I want to learn how to do the roll, the Eskimo roll.
Yeah.
How would you adjust that?
Well, it depends where they want to go. So, what are they trying to get? Are they want to be a class 3 boater, or are they trying to move all the way up to class 5? But when I first meet a student, let's say I'm doing a one-on lesson. Let's do a hypothetical. Let's
Okay.
say, Nick, I'm doing a one-on-one lesson with you.
Okay.
The first time I meet you,
Hmm.
I am immediately going to size you up and determine like what? Okay. He like I could tell just by meeting you right now. I'm going to be teaching you the C to C role because I don't think you're going to have an issue with the flexibility.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to I'm going to be working on X Y Z versus so some roles you can't do. So there's a lot of different kayak roles. I like to teach the C to C role with a physically fit or flexible person, but you can't physically do a C to C role if you don't have the flexibility
Sure.
or the fitness. Like if you have a bigger belly, it's going to be harder to do it. Yeah. So when you're setting up, and I don't want to jump ahead, but I really like these questions you asked. Like someone has to be able to bend like this
Okay.
to get into a good setup position for the C to C role. And if you cannot do that, you're going to have a very difficult time learning that role.
When you're first meeting someone, do you do any type of like mobility screens or, just to do, like the basics of how someone's able to move?
I don't, but I'm writing notes down right now because
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm
we could totally come up with like a 5 to 10 minute screen.
the problem I often have is I mostly run classes.
Okay.
So I try to avoid teaching one-on-one lessons because I try to maximize how many people can I get on the river and
Sure.
teach versus like when I do a one-on-one lesson, I'm working with, I love doing it, but it's not the biggest bang for my buck in terms of how many people I'm getting on the river. No, I don't do flexibility exercises, but we probably should. Last year, I did a lot more like stretching and mobility stuff. Once we got in our boats, there's a couple drills I always do with everyone so
Okay.
to make sure they're stretched before we start going into rolling. But this year we kind of had a young crowd, and so I just dove straight
Right
into
into it.
like I was like, "No, you'll be fine. No stretching, straight into rolling. Let's
Right.
go." Yeah, that's a good question.
What are the most common mistakes you're seeing? Is it more psychological, mental errors? Is it more physical? I know because I've been lacking seat time the last couple of years. I would say for me, it's really both where I don't have the skills that I need. And because of that, it feeds into the mental side of if I miss a move or two early, it's like, well, okay, I got a lot of river left. So maybe I'm not trying to catch the micro eddies, not trying to play boat as much. What are you seeing with your students?
Well, the it's 80% psychological for
You
sure.
said 80?
And
Yeah, okay.
yes, I would say 80% psychological. And before we even go into rolling or wet exits or anything like that, I have to break the fear that a
Okay.
student has. So everyone's scared when you show up and I put that spray skirt on
Yeah.
you and you're locked into a
Oh
kayak,
yeah.
you're going to be scared.
It's
Like
claustrophobic.
yeah, and I've got you locked in there. You're stuck. And so it's mostly psychological. And then even when I'm teaching people to roll,
Hmm.
like, and they do a drill, for example, they are like, it's psychological because I'll tell them before they go over, okay, you need to keep your right arm straight and you
Yeah.
need to watch the blade as you do this stroke, but they won't do it. It's like
Right.
they, as soon as they go under,
There's a
the fear, the deer in the headlights.
panic factor, right? Yeah, the panic
Yeah,
factor for sure.
yeah, it's and I would say that's the biggest thing to break. And it's often overlooked, I think, I think that I'm really bad at this. I think men are really bad at this, but getting on my students' level when it comes to their feelings is
Yeah.
really important. And I'm not someone who's really in touch with my feel. I'm working on it, but it's something I have to consciously like step outside of myself, put myself in my students' shoes and realize like they're scared. Like,
Yeah.
what are they feeling? How is it like? What are their past experiences?
Mhm.
Sometimes somebody comes to me who's already had a really bad swim in a kayak. I had a student who was from Colombia and he swam. Or, sorry, he was in a car accident
Mhm.
and in a van. All of his friends died. The van went into a river. All of his friends died. He broke 15 bones in his body.
Yeah.
Okay, and he wanted to get into whitewater kayaking to overcome the fear. You know how much trauma, like insane, like,
Mhm.
but I have nothing but respect for him because, like, I would be terrified of water for the rest of my life if I was in a car accident and my van went into the river and then I had really close friend. Like, it's just psychological. Going back to what you said,
Yeah.
it's psychological for sure.
Yeah, I think with and here's an interesting discussion. I'm in a group chat with a few buddies, and they all paddle more than I do. One's down in PA, one's down in West Virginia. But there seems to be in the whitewater community, maybe after your first season or two, almost like a checklist of like the river progression. It's like, okay, I did like in Ohio, it's like, okay, I did the Cuyahoga. Okay, now I did the Rocky River. Okay, then I did the lower slip, and then I did the upper slip. Okay, now it's time for the lower Yakagani. Okay, now it's time for New River Gorge, and then and so on and so on. I've always been in the mindset where I've progressed slow, and I think the buddies that I've surrounded myself with are the same, where we would style down a river, play boat down a river, catch every micro eddy, be able to splat, be able to boof, before you're really stepping up. Like I've never enjoyed like surviving down, a river in a huge creek boat. It's to me it's and everyone's different, and not everyone can tolerate a play boat. But it like I think you're really tested when you get in class 3 in a play boat and you're getting tossed around a little bit, and it's like, okay, how good of a paddler are you actually? Again, not everyone can tolerate the play boat and getting flipped so much. But what are your thoughts on kind of that? It's almost like a linear progression that I see. People have this checklist of rivers that it's like, okay, I got down that one. Let's do the next one instead of
My
how well did you actually get down that river?
Yeah. I know plenty of people that could probably survive the upper gully,
Yeah.
but they still shouldn't do it. So this is my thoughts on this.
Hmm.
This is a very good question. A class 5 kayaker can have an enjoyable time and push themselves and their skill level on a class 2 rapid.
I agree.
People always ask me, they're like, "Why do you live in Ohio?"
Right.
Like, like if you've seen like what I've run almost every hard river in the United States. And so like they're like, "Why would you?" It's like, "Yes, but I can enjoy myself and I'm getting such a dopamine hit
Hmm.
teaching people. I get so fired up bringing new people in. But the checklist boaters
Yeah.
that I call them,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm very cautious of them. And you do need to have a progression like that. And it's really good to have a progression like that. But you shouldn't be like, well, I've done this, so I'm ready for that. You should be able to style a river
Hmm.
before you move on. And I think some people do rush too quickly into things.
Yeah, yeah. It's
And
it's almost a dangerous mentality, I think. And people can call me out, whatever. We can have a discussion about it. But
I love ruffle and feathers.
yeah, we've lost. There's been some incidents in the keel haulers club and everything, and everyone progresses at their own pace, and as comfortable as you want. But I think especially for newer boaters, like the checklist mentality, like it's fun for sure. You want to get your kudos and get down rivers. I think slow progression in any sport like this, where mistakes can be dire. Let's not make light of it, right? More so in this sport than other sports. Like I was saying, it's a safe sport, but mistakes can be, they can be dire. You're mixing water and people, and the river is not forgiving. It doesn't care. It doesn't care about safety. So
Yeah, the Cuyahoga this spring was a real reminder to me that when things go bad, they go bad really quickly, and you can go from bad to worse very quickly if you're not careful, for sure. I think that's why there are so many gatekeepers in our sport, and I understand the gatekeeping so I see both sides of this.
mhm.
I When I have a new student and they're pushing to get on new runs and they're not ready for them, I'm very like honest with them and
Yeah.
tell them the truth. I do not think you're ready for that. In the same breath, we also have a problem in our sport of fear mongering, especially Ohio boaters do this. Older Ohio boaters do this a lot, and they need to think about this. Fear mongering is also a very common thing, and I have a lot of people that come to me that were did in fact have the skills to step up, but they were told that the upper yacht would kill them.
Yeah.
Like it's instant death to even consider going on that run,
Right.
or like whatever it is. So I see both of it. The gatekeeping, I understand why it exists, but it concerns me a little bit. And most of the time I found when people are gatekeeping, it's because they're at the top of their skill level running that run and they
Yeah.
don't feel comfortable. It's a their problem
Mhm.
and an internal issue, and they're nervous about bringing you on that run because they are not confident in their abilities to rescue you. Not
Yeah.
always that way,
Yeah.
but
What
sometimes.
What are your thoughts on, and how do you teach like self rescue ability versus having a good crew? Maybe a few are trained in swiftwater rescue or first aid.
Yeah, I think anybody that runs class 3 or up should have taken a Swiftwater rescue
Okay.
class. Shameless plug, I'll be offering a Swiftwater rescue class in Dayton, Ohio in April. I think I'm going to do it in April. If any Ohio boaters want to reach out to me, I haven't set the dates and I haven't posted it, but there's a real need. I normally teach one a year, but I have little kids, and so
Yeah.
I haven't done one recently because I'm busy. But I think everyone should take a Swiftwater rescue class because you don't take that class for you. You take that class for the people you're paddling with, so that when things hit the fan, you can come in
Yeah.
and help them.
Yeah, that's a good point. I haven't done one myself, and I almost feel that it's selfish of me to not have done one. It's just like the dates haven't worked out in the last few years. So,
Big.
like this year was the knee injury, the year before was the shoulder, the year before was the shoulder. So I just wasn't like physically able to do it in the spring. So let's knock on wood, but I would love to join you on that one. And
The confidence that you gain from doing a Swiftwater, like if you do one of mine, I'm going to throw you into a
yeah,
whole bunch.
yeah, good,
We're
good.
going to do
Yeah,
strainer scenarios and vertical pins and how do you set up Z drags? Like we'll go through everything because it's not often you have to use those skills, but when you do need to use those skills, you need to know how to do it.
right.
It's just like you don't carry a throw rope in your boat for you. You carry it for the people you're with. You don't, I don't carry carabiners and Z drags and all the extra safety equipment and tow tethers. That's not for me. That's
Yeah,
for the people I'm paddling with.
sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It sounds like a great opportunity to come out April and learn some new skills. It sounds like your community out there in Cincy is growing. The Keel Hauler Club seems to be steadily growing. We're getting some younger members. I think the last few years. I think COVID really helped in the fact that people wanted to get outside more and get on the river, even if it's flat water, stand up paddleboarding. I think it really helped in a way, ironically. But where do you see the paddling community, in Ohio right now? Like, I think we're in a pretty good spot.
Yes, I see. If you had asked me that 12 months ago, I
Mhm.
would have said the paddling community is dead. I would
Okay.
have said I would have said that our numbers have never been lower, at least here in Cincinnati. Like in terms of the people coming into the sport, it's non-existent, and the younger generation were not getting into the sport. The I don't know the numbers, but I think the number of active like kayakers, true like active whitewater kayakers that are going out like and actively paddling is probably very low. 75,000 maybe in the
Yeah.
United States would be my guess. That's just ballpark. I'm not quoting anything. I don't really know, but I know off the
It,
trends of like how many people are responding, watching my videos and
yeah.
content, and I think it's pretty low.
It is it is extremely low. I saw the numbers. It compared skiing and snowboarding to the whitewater paddling community. And there was like millions of skiers and snowboarders, and we're talking like six figures, maybe five figures worth of the whitewater community. So it's much
Yeah,
smaller for sure.
right. And I think that technology has played a part in that. Like, I don't like bashing tech, but smartphones and social
Yeah.
media, like, if you look at the younger generation, they are not, the attendance in sports has already gone down and is on a downward trajectory, all sports across the board. And I think if we want to see that improve, we have to go where they are. The reason I do those shorts is because that's what the kids are watching.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Like whether we like it or not, that's where the kids are.
Yeah.
They're in the matrix. If you want to pull them out of the matrix, you got to go into there and
Yeah.
say, "Hey, this is really cool." Like you got to expose them to it. So
Videos cannot be longer than 13 seconds or we're uninterested. Uninterested.
that's exactly right. Well, I've learned two things, Nick. You either have someone's attention for 45 minutes or
Yeah.
2 hour, you either have it in a podcast form and they listen to you while they're driving around or doing something else, or you have their attention for 10
Yeah, they're
seconds.
just doom scrolling through, right?
Yes.
Exactly. With shoulder stuff, I want to get back into the shoulder. So
Okay.
I've had multiple shoulder injuries myself. I've self rehabbed. I think kayaking is pretty good for my shoulder health in general. I think it's really helped me become more stable, stronger. But again, you're putting yourself in vulnerable positions, some, improper bracing or what have you. You hit a rock, stuff happens. How do you teach, that it's longevity, right? Like I would say the average age of our sport is probably over 40 years old, I would say.
Mhm.
How do you teach that like longevity aspect of, hey, we need this correct technique for your body's like longevity
That's yeah,
and
that's a
health?
good question. When kayaking, and this is taught like a religion in the slalom kayaking community,
Okay.
and for this exact reason.
Mhm.
So you can do it forever. We refer to there is a box,
Okay.
and it's called the paddler's box. And when you take strokes, you are always staying within your box and your different edges of the box. And so I can't leave that box. That's part one.
Okay.
If you leave the box that we're referring to, that's when you're going to start having shoulder problems, especially on things like a high brace or most of the time when somebody has an injury, shoulder injury, it's a result of a high brace
Okay.
of some sort.
Okay.
And I'm not knocking the high brace.
Mhm.
I think it is very powerful and it works very well. However, it does seem to be the primary cause of shoulder problems. And a high brace, for anybody watching that doesn't know, is when you start to capsize and you lift your arm up and pull down on your shoulder very aggressively. And if your paddle hits a rock when you are doing that motion, your shoulder can pop out of socket.
Yeah, shoulder dislocations I think are the probably the most common injury we see on the river, minus like lacerations, bumps and bruises.
Yeah, some
And
scars on your knuckles.
yeah, right. And I don't know if so I don't preach injury prevention. I don't think that's possible, especially in sports with so many variables like whitewater kayaking. But what we can do is reduce your risk for injury. Now, that comes on the two sides of how physically in shape, mobile, like you're saying, flexibility, strength, and how good is your technique. So that's the physical part of it. And then, the mental and psychological side is okay, common sense and not putting yourself in vulnerable positions. What are your thoughts on? It's really just kind of a nuanced terminology. Like stuff's going to happen potentially with injury, but you can certainly preach. What is your baseline for risk reduction?
So that's a really good question. I talk as a side note to that. I preach like we need to do things as safe as possible. However, anytime you leave your home,
It-
you hop in your car,
right.
you go for a walk, like there's risk. And so managing the risk and managing it in a very safe way, we have very few injuries in our classes and things like that because we manage risk very well. I might have a class of 23 students,
Mhm.
but I also have multiple instructors with me,
Okay.
and I also have like 8 volunteers. So there might be 30, 40 people on the river on
Yeah.
one of our classes, but the ratios are very good. And it's people that are really passionate about, kayaking, and they want to help other people, and they volunteer. This could not happen if I didn't have a good community of people that were willing to volunteer their time
Sure.
to make this happen. But back to um what you were talking about, risk assessment and things like that. I talked to ODNR about this not that long ago
Okay.
because they built whitewater parks in Dayton, Ohio, and there have been drownings at those parks. And the ODNR, who was very in favor of building the whitewater features originally, we were talking and they were saying, well, we had no idea like that there would be, a debt. And anytime there was an issue, it was almost always someone without a life jacket on. It
Yeah.
was never a whitewater kayaker. It was always most of the time it was somebody that came and went swimming and
Yeah.
not didn't know what they were getting into.
Yeah. Yeah. We not to interrupt, but it's the same thing up in on the Cuyahoga every spring. I mean, every spring there's incidents,
Yeah. I
and
it
it's uneducated and generally minimal life jacket situations.
and this is what I told that ODNR officer, and this is not me being cold. Do we saran wrap the world in the name of safety? So do we pave
Mhm.
every hiking trail? Do we pave every hiking trail and make sure there's no trip hazards so that it's, I mean, where do we draw the line of you need to take personal responsibility
Sure.
and learn the skills to be safe out on the river? And when do we say, the government or like is responsible for it's the same with cars today. It's like we try to make the cars so safe because we know there's going to be car accidents. Well, and we gave up certain things to make the car safer. So that's my feeling of like risk management. I personally believe in personal accountability and if you're going on the river, you should have a life jacket on, you should have good footwear, you should like
Helmet.
be in a good yes, you should be in a group, you shouldn't be by yourself. Their helmet, you should have the like pieces of the necessary pieces of equipment to do so. And I think people get the reason we have such deaths here in Ohio is because when the river is low like this, I'm sure it's like this in Cleveland right
Yeah.
now, it's so mellow
Oh
and
yeah.
calm.
Yeah.
And like we have like no flow in our
Yeah.
rivers here in Ohio right now.
It's very
It's like
scrapey. I mean, you could float in a tube. You could just tube
that's
down. Yeah.
that right. However, it's not the same river in, April as it is in October, and the river levels are it's a whole different
Yeah.
monster. And so if you go in with the mindset, that's almost on our rivers down here, when there is a fatality, it's because somebody thought it was going to be as mellow as it was the year before.
Yeah. It's tubing, wreck kayaking or sit on tops where people, the layman person doesn't even know you can even check a river level or what that even means, right? They just see it. It's like, oh, it's why does the river look brown today? It's okay because
And
it's
yeah.
4,000 CFS compared to 400.
And I'm trying to move away from like a cabrewing culture of people getting shit faced on the river.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not saying like don't have a good time. What I'm saying is you need to be somewhat responsible
Mhm.
because the river you need to respect the river, and it
Sure.
is a dangerous resource and it needs to be respected. And I think that how I was talking, I want to build the paddling community. I'm not building it for the cabrers. I'm building it for the people that really care and
Sure.
are really passionate about like the water. And nothing against the rec
Hmm.
community and the people that do that and the tubing and everything like that. It's just I don't think those are the people that are going to fight for the rights of that river.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. They're taking down in the Cuyahoga. They've been taking down a lot of the dams and a few low head dams and everything, and it's probably 10 years out still, but We're excited that it's going to completely change the landscape of the river for the better. A lot more whitewater is going to open up.
Are they taking out the Lowhead Dam, or are they taking out the dam that is downstream of the Sheraton?
I think eventually they will. Yeah,
Okay. I was
yeah,
just curious if like more rapids are going to open up down
yeah.
from
That
like,
whole thing, like below there with like the gorge and everything, should be like we're excited, man. It's going to be good. We're hoping
yeah.
anyway. It's hard to predict, obviously, but
Yeah, you never know what it's going to be like. Like
yeah.
sometimes I am a huge proponent if you take out a dam, you should put in a feature. Like if it's like a 5 foot dam or something like that, you should put in a feature like what Dayton did. Genius. Absolutely genius. I live in Cincinnati. I drive up. I am putting money into that economy every time I drive up and eat lunch
Yeah.
and
Yeah, yeah.
recreate up in Dayton. Genius. Like in terms of long term planning, I think cities should really be thinking about that.
Yeah, we wish, man. We hope that we get some features. All the Clevelanders are jealous of the Dayton play spots for sure.
They're good. Yeah.
We have all these ideas of spots that are local and what we could do with a little cement porridge, but the problem is the Cuyahoga, a lot of the spots are in the national park and it's just hard to get anything. I mean, nothing will happen in the park.
Yeah.
Maybe outside the
You
park, we'll see.
Yeah, we're getting another one too, just south of Dayton. It's we're probably 2 years out from construction being done, but they're building another wave just maybe 5 miles south of Dayton, which we're super excited
Man.
about. They're
Oh,
taking out another Lowhead Dam and
yeah.
putting in another river feature. We are so
Oh,
excited.
that's so fun.
And then Louisville is getting a whitewater park similar to Charlotte, where it like is
Oh,
its
no way.
own.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. It's going in. It's going to be in Indiana. It's in Louisville, but it's
Yeah.
on the Indiana side of
Okay.
the river.
Dang. That's
I
exciting.
know. I know. We're super excited. I know it's pretty far from you guys, but
Yeah.
still. And for all your listeners, I hope this weekend they consider coming to the kayak races in Dayton, Ohio that are getting organized. It's free to participate. So if any keel haulers are watching this and want to do the kayaking races in Dayton this weekend, just reach out to me. Super fun.
Cool.
Just show up on Saturday. This Saturday. It's free. We're just organizing it for fun. And we're
Nice.
doing a slalom race, boater cross, duo boater cross,
Oh, fun.
like just fun. It's just fun stuff. So
Nice. Yeah, we'll post this on the Keel Haulers page and try to get some people out.
cool.
You've been paddling for a while. What's your secret sauce for longevity? Is it weightlifting? Is it stretching, meditation? What does your routine look like? Having such a long paddling lifespan.
So I'm going to totally give you the lawyer answer. It depends.
Ah, okay.
No, it depends. So if I'm like training for something, like I was in Germany competing for on the US freestyle team, and I was doing 2 a day workouts and doing a lot of lifting and a
Yeah.
lot of heavy weights to build muscle mass. But now flexibility is very important. And I swear this sounds crazy, but I swear the only reason I have never had a shoulder injury is because when I sleep at night, I actually sleep in a weird
Like
position where
this.
I sleep with, yes, that's exactly how I sleep. And I sleep on my arm like this, and it's stretching my shoulder
Yeah.
muscles all
Yeah.
night. And then I switch to the other side about halfway through the night. I swear I don't like everyone. A lot of my friends have had shoulder issues and injuries, but I have been very fortunate. I sublexed my left one time when I was younger, but I have been very fortunate. I would say that good stretching is crucial and keeping mobility and flexibility. If you are not like stretching often gets overlooked, I think,
Yeah. Well,
in all sports, not just
it's not fun or
no.
flashy, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You know what I'll do? I'm gonna write it down. I'm gonna do some videos on paddle stretches. People
That'd
are
be
gonna,
great.
we'll see how those hit. It's funny because I always post things. I'm always wondering how people will respond to them.
Yeah. Yeah. We could even collaborate on that. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
I'm on mobility. So I consider mobility and flexibility different. So if we're talking
Okay.
flexibility, we're talking like muscle tendon. If we're talking mobility, we're talking more of the joint itself.
Okay. So,
So
y-
like deeper
mobi
structure joint. So they obviously they go hand in hand, but there are some specific exercises I give that target more so the joint mobility versus like stretching the muscles. Now, the shoulders are built for mobility for the most part. If you've had injuries like myself that I'm lacking some mobility that I'll probably never get back because it is a more unstable joint if we're looking anatomically. The shoulder is built for mobility, not for stability, versus look at the hip, the socket's super, super deep. I mean, you don't really hear of people dislocating hips very often. It's just a more stable joint, bigger muscles built for the more this stability. But yeah, if we're looking at, so here's an interesting thought for you too. They've looked at injury risk reduction, like we said, across various sports. And I think the study I'm referencing looked at soccer players in the elite and the collegiate level. So we're talking like 20 something year olds. And they looked at a program for flexibility, for plyometric power, jumping and whatnot,
Hmm.
and strengthening. And they had, I think, one group do only strengthening, one group do all three, and then one group do like some of each. And they found that the group that, now I'll ask you, what group do you think did the best throughout the season with the least amount of injuries?
Tell me, say that one more time.
So one group did only stretching,
Okay.
one group did only strengthening, and one group did both with some plyometrics too.
And which one? Ask the question one more time.
Which group do you think did the best, like had the best outcomes?
Like best performance outcomes?
Yeah, the least amount of injuries.
The ones that did both?
Correct. What was also
Okay.
interesting was that the group that only did strength training was pretty darn close. So what the study conclusion was basically is that strength is the most important aspect of training, just pure strength training as far as injury risk reduction, at least in that cohort.
Interesting. In the 20 to
Yeah, the
like
study
age range.
is younger at more the athletic population. But
Yeah.
I that's something that I talk about often to my patients, whether they're kayakers or runners or volleyball players. It's if you don't have that base of strength and conditioning principles where you got to be moving some weights. So now, whether that's machines, free weights, cable machines, I don't really care. It doesn't really matter. Whatever you like to do. But that will be like longevity wise, because as we know, after the fourth decade of life, muscle mass and strength decreases about 10% per decade. So
Yeah.
that's just part of aging. Now you can slow that down, or you can't stop it, but you can certainly slow that down with strength training. And I'm not saying you got to go to the bodybuilding gym. 2 to 3 days a week of full
Oh
body
yeah.
workouts is
So
plenty.
so my current like regimen is like on on a let's just use a standard week. I do about 3 days of running and then 4 days a week of weights. That's
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 perfect.
roughly
Yeah.
that's roughly what I'm doing. And I alternate depending on which,
Yep.
like if I'm doing buys and it alternates. But I will also say people have to be willing to like okay. I've noticed this in my classes, especially with younger men.
Yeah.
They are not willing to accept, like, you don't know shit. And
Uh-huh.
like, you
Yeah.
have to accept that. And it's hard for me too. Like you have stuff you got to learn. And when it comes to weights and how to use weights well, I think everyone should be using a trainer at least when they're starting out, because if you are, you can lift weights the wrong way.
Sure.
And I've learned that from personal experience. Like I'm doing it wrong,
Right.
and I have good friends of mine who like it's their whole they're those jacked guys you're talking about who do the gym all day every day,
Yeah.
who are like, no, you're doing it like, and I'm willing to humble myself
Mhm.
enough to say like, how what am I doing wrong? How can I do like,
Sure.
and you have to do that.
Yeah.
Like you have to be willing to be like, we don't know everything, and when it comes to weights, like I think more people do need to do strength training.
Yes.
A lot more people need to do strength training, but I think they also need to do it in a like learn how to do it well.
Yeah, that's what I'll tell patients too. That runners are the worst, man. Runners do not like to strength train. Runners like to run, um, and God forbid they got to go to the gym. But that's what I'm like. Look, just go to your local gym. If you're nervous with the
Yeah.
machines or whatever, hire the trainer in the gym. And if you don't like that trainer, try the other one. It's a pretty cheap way to have them design you a program and get comfortable and build the confidence. And then after 3 to 4 months with a trainer, you'll be independent and good to go.
It, and I think that what you're talking about, the runners like to run because they know how to do that,
Yeah,
and they don't want to step out of that comfort.
yeah,
Like I used to do
comfort
that
zone.
too.
Sure.
I used to only run,
Yeah,
and it was because, if I'm being perfectly honest, it's because I was intimidated. I didn't want to go to the gym and like not know how to use all
sure,
this stuff,
sure.
and I think there that plays into it for sure.
And I think
So
gym culture too. Some of the nicest people that I've met in the gym have been the most jacked, intimidating, tatted up, shredded men and women. And, those are the people that, yeah, they look scary and intimidating, but like they're there every day. They know everyone, and they're usually the nicest people. They'll spot you. They'll give you technique tips. If you want it. That's just a caveat that I've seen.
it's the same in the paddling world, by the way. The best paddlers, like you go paddle with Dane or you
Yeah.
paddle with one of
Oh,
those,
sure, they're
they are
great.
the nicest people.
Yeah.
But you see them on social media, so you just like, and it's the same thing. Like the best paddlers often are like are willing to give you so much of themselves and like teach you and the right form and things. But you have to, again, you have to be humble enough. When I go paddle with Dane or some people that are better than me, I am willing to say I suck and I have shit to learn,
Yeah, for sure.
and I can definitely learn from you. You're better than me. Like, and I think sometimes like everyone can use more humility in their life. And when I go to the gym, I have to do the same things. It's like, you're better than me. Like, I need help. Like,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I do that in my career too. I've surrounded myself with colleagues that are more experienced and I would say are ahead of me in their career and they've started their own practices and everything. A few years older than me, and they peer pressured me and pushed me into starting my own thing. But it's always a lot to learn, and whether that be career or hobbies or sports. So
do you think it comes down to people not wanting, like, being afraid of being judged? Is that what it is? Like, when somebody, I try to put myself in someone's shoes.
yeah,
When someone
oh yeah.
walks into a gym, that's probably what it is.
I
Yeah.
think that's 90% of it. Looking stupid, looking
Look,
dumb, going into the freestyle skiing, kids that are getting into that. You're going to fall and eat shit like a lot, and like learning jumps and rails and everything. And you're going to fail and you're going to be fine. You're going to have some bumps and bruises and you're going to get dinged up. But my brother actually runs a channel for skiing. He doesn't do instruction, but he does a lot of tutorials online on YouTube, and that's one of the things he says. It's like you just got to be willing to fall and kind of make a fool of yourself. And like honestly, no one cares. Like everyone's in their own bubble, especially at the gym. Like I got my music on. If I see some kid struggling, maybe I'll help him. Probably not, but like we're all in our own bubble, and like we got our own issues. No one really cares. No one really cares.
no one really cares. That's exactly right. Like, at the end of the day, like, I think a lot of people, when they come to my classes, they're like, "Oh my God, like,
Yeah,
I'm gonna swim out of this kayak in front of all these
group
strangers."
setting. You don't know anyone, and
Yeah.
yeah,
And I think that same, like, there's that famous saying, the master has failed more times than the beginner has even tried.
I
And
like that.
that's
Yeah,
really true. Like, every good skier, every good kayaker, anybody that has mastered a sport has fallen on their face more times
yeah.
than you've even
Count.
gotten off the
Yeah,
couch.
countless times. Yeah,
And but I went through that when I was a teen, that failing phase. I'm still learning, still falling on my face. Like, it's just at a higher level. But I went through that early falling on my face, swimming out of my kayak and missing rolls and all that stuff when I was much younger. So it's harder for me to get into someone's mind when they're thinking like that.
yeah. I think just get out there, push yourself respectively, get good instruction, have a physical base of conditioning of some sort.
I,
If you don't have that physical base, be prepared to progress yourself more slowly and safely.
yeah, I'm a huge believer in this, and this is an old saying, but like, if I don't have structure and like rhythm, like I do this on this day and this on this day and this, then I won't do it. And so, it's like, I'm saying too many quotes here, but there's another one I really like. It's like, the chains are the chains of habit are too light to be felt
Hmm.
until they're too heavy to be broken.
Yeah.
If you watch TV all day, if you eat McDonald's every day, if you like your habits eventually will take over your life. And so make your habits really good. Okay,
Yeah.
I go paddle on Monday. Okay, I go to the gym on Tuesday. Okay, I run on Wednesday.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
so.
your physical being is a culmination of your personal choices over the last couple years. Minus,
Oh,
there's obviously healthcare concerns that happen and injuries that are, unpreventable. It's all patients come in that, and not so much at my practice now, but when I was working in the bigger offices with the bigger clinics. It's like, okay, you got low back pain, you're a chronic smoker, drinker, haven't exercised, you haven't been in the gym, haven't walked, you've had back pain for
I'm
10 years. There's a
I'm gonna
ceiling of
get
how much we're going to be able to do here, right?
I'm gonna get canceled for saying what I'm about to say next. I am
I'm ready
such
for it.
I am such a believer in personal accountability and taking on personal responsibility. You are in control of your life. Don't take the victimhood approach and say, like, oh, well, I was born, like I have bad genetics,
Yeah.
and my whole family's big boned. Um, like that's not an excuse. Like, it's just not. I don't buy that at all.
I saw this one. It was just a hot mic Instagram reel, and it said I might get canceled too. But when's the last person you saw that was morbidly obese that they essentially just ate lean protein and fruits and veggies? I mean,
We
never,
know,
never.
right, exactly. We know, like, we know this stuff. Everyone knows, stay away from sugar. Don't eat, like, if you eat like lean proteins and vegetables and fresh fruit, you are going to be healthier. We all know it. If
Right.
you stay away from soft drinks and like, we all know this stuff.
Hmm.
It's, do we have the discipline to
Yeah.
say no, my personal health matters more than that sugary beverage.
Yeah, yeah, and hopefully that's shifting culturally a little bit. I think at least some of the folks that I surround myself with. I know I'm biased because I work in healthcare and most of my friends exercise and everything. It's probably not shifting that much in this country, but it's discipline over motivation. Discipline is doing the stuff that you
Yes.
probably don't want to do, but you do it for yourself, for tomorrow's self. That's how I think of it. It's like, let's do the stuff today that I don't want to do, so I'm thanking myself tomorrow, for my previous day's help. And that goes along with diet and exercise and everything else. So
Couldn't have said it better
yeah.
myself if I tried.
And everyone isn't a saint, man. Everyone thinks, I preach this stuff and it's like, no, it's like 80-20, 70-30. There's going to be some days where I go get pizza and I don't want to do crap. It's no one's perfect, but it's staying as consistent as you can.
I totally agree. And what's funny is we talked about this at the end of the podcast. So only people that have the discipline
To
to
listen.
listen to the whole thing are going to hear us ranting about this.
Absolutely.
So kudos for anybody that stayed till the end and watched this whole thing, because you're already at the top, like, for doing that.
Yeah, big shout
So
out. I know I wouldn't want to listen to myself talk for about an hour. So, Eric, I'm gonna let you go, man. Thank you so
cool.
much. That was a great conversation. We can totally do it again.
Awesome.
Hopefully we can meet up in person sometime. I got to get out to your Swiftwater class. Good,
Yeah,
good luck with the race event this weekend. That sounds like a lot of fun.
I appreciate it. Thanks. Have a great day, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. You too.